what our sort of the plan is to do is not get run over by the storm, but actually move east, stay ahead of it, and sort of try and show you the spectacularness of the front edge of the storm. And we actually was interesting. We did see a couple of airplanes taking off out of Detroit Airport, trying to get out of the way of the storm. And now we just saw a bunch of seagulls also headed east, trying to get away from the storm. Unlike them, storm chasers, we're gonna stay right here and watch this as it comes in. Wow, the lightning definitely picking up. Can't wait to show you this because it is on its way very soon.
Oh, the anticipation is building. You know, if Mark's out there, that's where he is stationed in the thick of it. He likes to be in the thick of it. Mark is a trained professional storm hunter. So if you do have any watches and warnings in your region, be sure that you remain weather aware and stay indoors as best as you can. These squall lines, Melinda even mentioned that we're looking at more like a squall line situation, narrow band of convective storms. They can produce damaging winds, heavy rain, frequent lightning. We already saw lightning on the way towards Mark in just the distance there. Now, let's continue tracking these storms with our meteorologists, Melinda and Dylan. The timing. I think a lot of people are wondering, what is the timing like in my region? Because where you even saw Mark, there's no rain there just yet, but people need to start being prepared, correct?
Absolutely right. Well, quickly touch on some of the current conditions here. So you can see Ottawa, you're still at 27 degrees, so you're in the warm sector of the storm that is slowly making its way east. Meanwhile, you can see a little bit of those yellows and greens on the screen rather. That's indicating a little bit more of a cooler as that cold front continues to sink on through. But yes, the sunshine is there in Windsor and it's not going to last for long. Let's take a look at this at the timing of the storm. So as we head into 9 p.m., that's where we're going to be seeing the bulk of it pushing into parts of southwestern Ontario. I'll just quickly throw on some more place names here for us so we can take a look as well. Okay, perfect. Here we go. So we'll zoom into Windsor, southwestern Ontario, Leamington around that 9:30 period as well. And then you can see a bit more of those heavier rainfall rates pushing in as well. Chatham into the light rain by 10 p.m. It's slowly making its way east. So yes, it's still somewhat a fast moving storm, but it's really going to be pouring when it comes down. So areas that have the purple bullseye, that can be indicating some hail. That can be producing heavy amounts of rainfall as well because the air is quite saturated. We'll continue around 10-11 p.m. It continues to make its way into the London region, Kitchener as well as we head around midnight. And then as we head into parts of the GTA around 1 to 2 to 3 a.m., you can slowly see it becoming a bit more widespread. The energy is spreading out and you can see those yellows starting to diminish a bit as well. That means it's losing its energy and it'll most likely be just heavy rainfall as we head into across the GTA around 1 to 2 a.m. And yes, we can still be looking at quite a bit of some rumbles of thunder. Now heading into your day, Thursday across the morning hours, some rain likely across eastern Ontario, but widespread rainfall across parts of the Nickel Belt region and into Quebec, where we do have some rainfall warnings as well. These have been issued by Environment Canada, where we could be tracking over 50 millimeters through Thursday. Now, Dylan, the same energy will be pushing into parts of Quebec for Thursday.
Yeah, that system's going to be tracking through portions, especially across the eastern townships on Thursday afternoon. You can see that red area from Granby, Sherbrooke, all the way up to St. George. That's where severe thunderstorms are potentially much more likely as that system works its way through the region. We're watching the potential for strong wind gusts once again, large hail, as those thunderstorms take advantage of some instability and probably a little bit more shear in the atmosphere. That's kind of that wind direction changing with height, giving those storms a little bit more spin and then also a better chance of persisting for a longer period of time. You can see that low pressure system pushing through the afternoon and evening hours. It looks like that St. Lawrence corridor southward, that's where you have your best chance of seeing active weather.
And especially the bit more of the severe kind as well, right, Dylan, where we're tracking all the ingredients are coming together. We have the moisture, we have the trigger, which is this frontal system, we have the instability, which is the warm heat as well, and like you mentioned, we have the wind shear. When we have wind shear, we could be looking at rotating storms, and we have a little bit of, if we had to pinpoint, it would most likely be into parts of the eastern townships, primarily where that red bullseye is located. So once again, like Dylan mentioned, localized flooding is also going to be a concern in 3 parts of Quebec as we head into Thursday. Now overall though, we'll take a look at the radar once again and just show you currently what is happening here. So it's inching very closely where Mark is in Amherstburg, and we'll continue to track that, making its way in a northeast direction. Look at Mark's visuals. Literally, he said 15 to 20 minutes. I think it's jumping in a bit more closer than that.
That is correct, Melinda. Mark is in Amherstburg right now, Amherstburg, I should say right now. It's just south of Windsor. This is where we currently have thunderstorm warnings in place. If you are in a thunderstorm warning, make sure that you stay indoors and that you remain weather aware. Mark is a trained professional storm hunter who is out there trying to be in the thick of the storm so that you do not have to. Mark, it is really dark there now since the last maybe 5-10 minutes when we last spoke. What's it like out there?
Yeah, I mean, take a look. You can actually see the gust front building right here, right sort of just across the other side of the Detroit River. The most amazing thing, though, is like just how laminar the flow is. And what I mean by laminar is how smooth that upper part of the storm is. And that's just the warm, moist air being fed into the storm, the cold air coming down from underneath. There's a couple of points that you can actually see that the inflow regions are very close down, very close to the surface. One place I want to take you is just over here, and you can actually see where it's curling in. That's an inflow region just over on that side. So just absolutely amazing to see this thing. And it's just, I haven't seen structure like this in a long time. We are going to have to move to the east just to keep ahead of this because this thing is going to be on top of us, and I don't want to necessarily be underneath because I want to keep bringing this kind of visual. So we're going to probably blast east in the next little while, in a couple of minutes, just so that we can continue to watch this until it gets dark. So much lightning in there. After dark, still going to be a bit of a spectacle.
Mark, that is certainly impressive. We're going to check back in with you throughout the duration of this live stream. I assume in just the next couple of minutes, we're going to expect Mark to be in a whole lot of rain and strong wind gusts momentarily. Stick around to watch Mark out in the midst of the storm. We do have watches and warnings still in place. Currently, we do have thunderstorm watches anywhere from Chatham up towards Sarnia, London, and Port Stanley as well. In that, we do have thunderstorm warnings for southwestern Ontario, Windsor to Leamington right now. That is where Mark is currently in. Now, meteorologists Melinda Singh and Dylan Kakuta also here with us. That was quite the spectacle that Mark's in right now. That's a shelf cloud near him. The storm is soon approaching. Can you give us some radar imagery and some timing on when Mark could expect the rain? Because we're certainly going to check in with him very soon, I'm assuming.
Yeah, you got that right. Such a dynamic view there of the shelf cloud. And you can even see a little bit of those greens and behind it. That's indicating a little bit of some hail behind the overall front. But Dylan, here's a look at the overall radar. Well, lapse of time for about 1 hour. And yeah, it's really going to be pushing in quite soon. Mark, better get in your car right away.
Yeah, it's right on your doorstep. So probably for Amherstburg, you got maybe 5-10 minutes at most before that rain makes its way into your region. Windsor, you have a little bit more time because this segment of the line is tracking kind of northeast, so it's going to hit Amherstburg first along the Detroit River, and then Windsor maybe within, say, 15 to 30 minutes of time. So Windsor a bit longer before the storm reaches you. Amherstburg, fairly imminent arrival of rain into your region. And then for areas further east throughout the warning, say Tilbury, Leamington, you have probably more than half an hour to an hour before that activity finally works its way into your region.
Yeah, it's going to be packing quite a punch, and we have the instability, we have the trigger, all ingredients are coming together, but we're really going to be watching if there's any spin-ups within the storm. That means we could be looking at rotation, and of course, if rotation is detected or so, Environment Canada will issue a tornado warning, and we'll definitely update you if they do so. One of the main ingredients here is the humidity in the atmosphere, the moisture. Now, this is actually going to be sticking around for quite some time. I'm just going to give you a quick sneak peek at the forecast for Toronto and surrounding regions as we head into the weekend. Yes, 30-degree temperatures Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and it's gonna feel like we're in Florida with the humidex into the low 40s. So make sure you have fans working, your air conditioning working. If not, now is a good time to make sure those are in check.
All right, thank you so much, Melinda. If you are watching on YouTube or on the Weather Network app or desktop, you can feel free to ask us any questions. We'll answer them to the best of our abilities. You can ask them on any social media platform, and our meteorologists can answer them. Now, one person has been asking, or many people, I should say, have been asking about the greatest risk for a tornado. Tornado is such a buzzword, Melinda and Dylan, that I think people obviously hear the word tornado and they get concerned. People are asking where the greatest risk for this is. I know tornadoes can be tricky to track, and maybe you can elaborate more on that.
Yeah, sometimes tornado forecasting can be like throwing a dart blind at a wall. But today it's much more focused over extreme southwestern Ontario. That's where we have the greatest risk of seeing anything, and they will be what we call QLCS tornadoes. So along that line, you'll see little pushes of wind surging forward. That's going to help spin things up, and you can get these brief little tornadoes that spin up along the line. Somewhat hard to notice on radar because they're such small in nature. But extreme southwestern Ontario, that's where the best chance of a tornado is, just as this line is pushing into your region, and that risk should quite rapidly diminish as the line continues to track further eastward and we lose that energy for the storms.
And the extreme southwest is currently where we have thunderstorm watches in place. If you are in a thunderstorm, or warnings, I should say, if you are in a watch, that means the ingredients are there to produce severe weather. That means you need to be alert. If there is a warning in place, like southwestern Ontario currently is in, that is your time to act. That is your time to head indoors and stay indoors. We always like to say when thunder roars, head indoors, and that's exactly the rhyme that you should be retelling yourself as we progress throughout the evening. Mark Robinson, our storm hunter, has been out and about. He was in the Amherstburg area, which is just south of Windsor. This is where we are currently in a thunderstorm warning. Mark, man, we have you here. You are now in your car driving. I don't want to distract you while you're driving.
Yep. That's okay. We're just coming into the line now. Line is moving fairly quickly. And instead of jumping right on me, you can see out the front of the car, we're losing visibility very fast. A lot of very strong winds, very strong winds right now. And I'm just trying to get us ahead of the line because I do not want to be in it. And yeah, to the right of the car, just for any flying debris, because we've actually already saw a branch coming down just behind us as this whole thing landed on top of us. I'm trying to get us ahead of this one. It's going to be a tricky run, but yeah, we've got a good shot towards our east, and hopefully we're not going to run into any flying debris. But yes, we are definitely in that line right now.
Mark, it's a good thing to see that there's not many cars out on the road. You have done this many, many times before. You are trained and a trained professional at this. So we do not recommend anybody go out right now if you are in this southwestern region of the province. We are in thunderstorm warnings currently where Mark is. Mark, the wind, that seems like it's very strong. You're holding onto the steering wheel pretty tight. I can only assume it almost looks like your car is jolting with the wind a little bit, right?
Oh, it absolutely is. Quite often we're getting hit from the I'm headed, let's see, I think I'm headed due east right now, and we're getting some very strong winds from the south, so bouncing really hard. You can in the lights of the cars. This is happening very quickly. I wasn't expecting it to hit us quite this fast, so it's going to be a tricky run to try and get far enough east to show you that cloud again. But you're now getting a taste of the earlier gust front, and now you're inside that gust and that gust front, inside the core of the storm. And the idea right now, the goal or the plan right now is to move as fast as I can to the east to get us out of the danger area within the storm itself.
It's like I'm almost watching a movie with Mark out there driving, Mark enduring the treacherous driving conditions. Certainly dangerous looking out there. Mark, what is the potential of hail? Right now it just looks like lightning and some strong wind, but I feel like we could expect hail with this too at any given time.
It's possible, but these ones tend not to produce large hail. They can produce a lot of smaller hail, but so far I haven't seen winds, and of course there is that danger of tornadoes, which is also why I don't want to be in the line. I want to be in front of it, so that I can sort of examine, see what's going on. Now, not a lot of visibility. This is not exactly where I'd like to be. I mean, it's wild to see this, but I want to be out in front so I can get an idea of what the storm is doing. But getting in front may be more difficult than I originally anticipated. So cross your fingers. Here we go.
All right, stay safe out there, Mark. Thank you so much. Make sure that you drive carefully out there. We'll check in with you momentarily. Try to get ahead of that storm as best as you can. And thank you so much for being out there. All right, let's check in with our meteorologist once again. I have a couple questions from viewers online, Melinda and Dylan. The question being, will Ottawa get severe thunderstorms on Thursday? We did talk about this a little bit, but maybe we can elaborate more on the timing.
Yeah, you got that right. Let's look at our risk map for Thursday, which encompasses Quebec and parts of eastern Ontario as well. Right now we have Ottawa in the non-severe criteria, which means, yes, we're going to be looking at the remnants of the storm pushing through, but all the ingredients are coming together and through parts of the eastern townships and even in through areas like Montreal that could be potentially getting into a little bit of that criteria. Now, Dylan, here's a look at that warm front that's moving through and the cold front behind it as we head into your day Thursday. That's really going to be one of the main threats that we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, so that warm front brings those kind of early day storms, and then as we progress throughout the hours around lunch hour, that's when we see those storms beginning to initiate across the eastern townships. And then as we head into the evening hours, that's when that cold front starts cutting through, and that's going to give kind of that extra kick for those storms to really get them going. You can see there's also going to be quite a bit of rainfall with this system, especially to areas through Mont-Laurier and also north of Petawawa, but also another cluster of heavy rain north of St. George's and east of Quebec City.
And it looks like the majority of the heavier rainfall will fall north of Ottawa and Gatineau. So areas like Perron, Latuque, Matawawa, you'll be seeing more of the heavier rainfall as Environment Canada has those regions there in the rainfall warning that could be looking at potentially 50 plus millimeters of rainfall throughout your day Thursday. Now, speaking of rain, here's a look at what we saw throughout the past 12 hours as of today. This is a look at the heavier rainfall we saw along that warm front. So you can really see places like Caledonia, well over 100 millimeters of rainfall up along that region, a little bit west of Brantford as well, just southwest of Woodstock, north of Ingersoll. You saw quite a bit of rain too. North of Mitchell, you see those reds, that's indicating over 75 millimeters of rainfall. Once again, this is radar estimated rainfall. We will get the correct amounts from Environment Canada in the coming days. But yeah, this system is going to continue to pack a punch as we continue to track it, making its way over southwestern Ontario. Now, Dylan, here's a look at the current radar. We're slowly seeing that system track over parts of southwestern Ontario, but we are seeing a little bit of some rotation on parts of the radar.
Yeah, there are some little bends in this line of storms. That's where you can see a bit of rotation develop. So far, they aren't anything to be concerned about. The strongest section of the storm right now is actually from McGregor westward to the Detroit River. And that section of the storm is tracking quite sharply northeast. So if you are on Highway 3 Talbot Road all the way from Essex up to Windsor, you might see that line of storms beginning to make its way into your region, maybe within the next 10 to 15 roads. It will cause a bit of a slowdown on the roads with that heavy rain and strong winds, because this is kind of that strongest section of the storm tracking from McGregor up to Essex, Windsor area.
Absolutely right. All right, Victoria, we'll take it back to you.
Now, a severe thunderstorm. We've been talking all about this all through your Wednesday. Severe thunderstorm means wind gusts could be 90 kilometers an hour or even greater. Hail could even be possible, 2.5 centimeters or even larger. Now, heavy rain, of course, is one of the main attractions of this evening that we've been monitoring. We did see those rainfall warnings blanketing portions of southern Ontario. Plenty of them have since been lifted. Now, we did see lightning on the back end right behind Mark Robinson, who is in southwestern Ontario. Always remember, when thunder roars, go indoors, but let's say you do find yourself outside and there's lightning. Make sure you crouch low to the ground, avoid high ground, and avoid metal objects and water, as well as, of course, trees and tall objects. Speaking of trees and tall objects, those winds, those were howling near Mark Robinson, and he was driving around monitoring any damage in the area. He was saying that he was closely monitoring the trees around him because he wanted to make sure that he is also safe. Mark, we see the lightning there. It's very dark, very ominous, plenty of rain. What's it like out there right now?
It's getting nasty. Now, it's not quite as bad as it was. What I'm trying to do is get ahead of this line. So it's a little bit tricky to try and sort of pick the spot because we're behind the sort of the main part of the storm at this point, which means that to get in front of it, I have to cut through the line itself. That's always tricky because you're talking about going through the worst part of the storm as you're moving through this. So the stuff that we saw earlier, yeah, we're gonna have to go through that again to sort of get out in front of this. And I think this one is accelerating just a little bit. Oh, nice close lightning bolt there. So the idea, get ahead of it and try to sort of get to an area where I can move at 100 kilometers an hour, so maybe up on the 401, and I stay far enough ahead of it that we can monitor, we can see what's going on, we can try and let our viewers know what's happening with this storm. But I can tell you, if you're in Essex, if you're in Chatham, this is headed towards you. It's probably on top of Essex right now. So to my sister-in-law Becky, it's on top of you right now, and this one is moving towards Chatham. Probably going to be in Chatham in, I'm going to guess, about I don't know, I'm going to say about half an hour. So either way, wow, this is a pretty quick-moving storm, but it's packing a bit of a punch. Some of those winds that we got hit with in Amherstburg were enough to pull small branches down. Now, it didn't bring any trees down. But definitely small branches were being pulled off of trees and a lot of leaf shred coming down. Biggest danger, though, at this point, definitely going to be the lack of visibility as this storm continues. And if you're driving, especially on the 401, you're going to encounter this very quickly. So please be very careful if you see this storm coming. And it's going to announce its presence because there's a lot of lightning in this as well.
Now, Mark Robinson is down in southwestern Ontario, just south of Windsor on the Detroit River, right over here. However, he is driving further towards the east, but he still remains in this thunderstorm warning. All of this area in red here, this is currently a warning, which means you need to be weather aware. You should be indoors and you should not be driving. Do not do what Mark does. He is a trained professional. Anybody in this yellow here, this is a thunderstorm watch. What does that mean? It means you should be prepared because, as Mark said, those storms are just moving further east. Mark, how fast do you feel like this storm is moving? Is this something that is going to be hard for you to catch up to now?
You know what? I think so. We originally thought the storms were moving about 50 kilometers an hour. I'm moving at 80 along some of there's an 80 kilometer an hour speed limit through here. Now we're in a town, McGregor, so I'm down to 60 kilometers an hour. I'm moving at 80. It's accelerating away from me. So this may be moving at closer to 100 kilometers an hour. So very tricky to stay ahead with. And I honestly thought it was going to be slower than that, but it's definitely surprised me, and I think it surprised a lot of people that were in Amherstburg as this storm rolled right over top of us. We were down there. Dave Sills was there. Dr. Dave Sills, we've talked to him, I can't tell you how many times. And I think he was even surprised, like, wow, this jumped on us real fast. We briefly had absolutely beautiful gust front, and now I'm not sure I'm going to be able to catch this, to be quite honest. So I'm going to give I'm gonna do my best.
Thank you so much, Mark. Stay safe out there. We are going to continue to check in with Mark Robinson, who is out in southwestern Ontario throughout these thunderstorm warnings. Now, let's check back in with our meteorologists who are live tracking this storm. Mark's saying that this is moving quite fast, I think a little bit faster than he intended, perhaps. Do you have any clarity on how fast this is actually moving? Do you think that Mark can get ahead of it? That's what I'm really trying to ask you.
Well, I think the best chance of him getting ahead of it is actually to punch eastward, because the storm is shooting so quickly northeast. So he's going to have to try and catch the next segment, which is moving in from the northern shores of Lake Erie.
And another question, a lot of people have been asking about the tornado potential, because we saw on our risk map earlier, we did say that we could potentially see 1 or 2 tornadoes. But what is the likelihood of this actually as we progress in through the overnight hours too?
Well, as we go through by minute, right now the threat is diminishing as it continues to track further east. We're still in a window where there is enough instability to help generate something. But as we head into the overnight hours, especially once you make it east of, say, Sarnia, that's when you really lose that surface instability, which is one of the requirements for producing tornadoes.
And of course, the heavy rain, that has been a topic of conversation throughout the entire day. We've seen plenty of rainfall warnings already. Those rainfall warnings, though, they have since been lifted. And flash flooding or localized flooding, that was something that we have been talking about. If you do see heavy rain in your area, always use the term turn around, don't drown. Avoid walking or driving in water. Only 15 centimeters of moving water can actually knock you down. So you need to move immediately to higher ground. Now the risk, though, that's going to be even more dangerous as we head into the overnight hours. The sun setting around 9 o'clock, Melinda and Dylan, as we continue to watch these storms and it starts getting dark. That's when even more danger arises with some of these storms, yeah?
That is true, but it's also a good thing because we're losing the daytime heating. So these storms, they will start to fizzle out and lose all its energy and the instability, like Dylan was saying earlier. As we get into the overnight, it's mainly going to be a rainfall threat. We did see quite a bit of this rain here on the graphic earlier today, but with that next big push, we'll be seeing a bit more heavier downpours like Mark was showing in his live stream. But overall, though, we are going to be looking at this quick moving than what we saw earlier today along the warm front. Now I just want to jump gears quickly and we'll shift over to Western Canada, where there's also active weather in that region too. We have a few warnings here at play, one just east over Prince George rather. We have one in northern parts of BC in the Peace region also, and then a few storms in through parts of Alberta that we have been tracking as well. So Dylan, I'll open up the radar here and just quickly take us through what we are tracking in through parts of Alberta.
Yeah, so those scattered storms have kind of popped up with that daytime heating. That storm that's just west of Edmonton, southeast of Whitecourt, with the severe thunderstorm warning. You can watch out for some strong wind gusts with this, but also up to nickel-sized hail. I know hail's such a common thing in Alberta. It's almost a guarantee with any of these thunderstorm setups. So watch out if you have more sensitive plants outside, you want to bring them in for that. And then we also have some cells just around Brooks, but it looks like they are beginning to lose their legs and weaken as they continue to track eastward.
All right, we'll head over to BC as well. Take a quick look at some of the radar here as well. Here's a look at Prince George. Jill, if you can pull up the warning for that as well. So a bit of a cluster. These storms are moving in a north direction, so it's going to be over the town of Prince George momentarily. But if I just pause the radar for a moment and zoom on right in, you can see a little bit of a pink bullseye there. That's indicating the potential for a little bit of hail, but it's mainly going to be heavy downpours, which is, I mean, good news for this time of year, which is helping with the drought situation and the wildfires ongoing across Western Canada. Now, Dylan, looks like this warning is for that region as well. So moving 35 kilometers west of Heightened is moving northward at 20 kilometers per hour. So there's a few in this region. There's one just southeast of Stoner as well. So we got a few there, but yes, they are severely warned. So we could be looking at some lightning in this region as well. Once again, heed the warnings once they do happen in your area. And of course, we're going to continue to track a little bit of active weather in 3 parts of Saskatchewan and Manitoba as well. There is a storm here stateside that could maybe crossing the international border shortly, Dylan, and this could be bringing in around some heavy rainfall too.
It's been quite an active stretch across the prairies. And speaking of active weather, here's a look at the tornado down stateside. Quite a rapid rotation with that cloud as it's spinning around.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the radar here of what we saw earlier. Here it is. I'll just zoom it out a bit and play back the time as well from it. Hopefully that works there. So this is what we were tracking, and it was a bit more further west as well. And this is the same system that we are going to continue to track and make its way eastward as we head into the coming hours. And of course, it's already impacting parts of southwestern Ontario. It's also impacting parts of Ohio as well, down towards some other states as well. But yes, this is the main threat, the main line, and starting to push in right now.
Yeah, we can see that line of thunderstorms is currently from Windsor to crossing over actually the Windsor International Airport right now. So probably seeing some pretty good winds over there. And within the next, say, 10-15 minutes, you'll likely see that storm making its way onto the southern shores of Lake St. Clair from Riverside eastward to Bell River. That's probably where you will see the strongest winds with this segment of the line.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to continue to live track these storms here at the Weather Network during this live stream, which is on our Weather Network app, as well as our Weather Network desktop website, weathernetwork.com, as well as YouTube. And of course, you can follow us on any social media channel that you have. We can see the lightning there. This is storm hunter Mark Robinson, who is driving out in southwestern Ontario. Mark, where are you right now?
We are getting close to the town of Essex. Still behind that line. I'm trying to get east. You can sort of see that the rain isn't all that bad at this point. And that's simply because we're sort of tucked in behind the line as this line is sort of just rocketing east. And I'm gonna, as I said, we may see it as we get into the main part of the line itself. We're going to see a bit of a change from this sort of maybe a little misty rain, a little bit of wind, right into that full, almost whiteout type conditions. If, and there's a big if I can catch up to that line and try to get ahead of it. If it does change into that much worse conditions, that's actually a good sign. It means I'm catching up with it and getting maybe there's the potential to get ahead of it. Doing 80 kilometers an hour right now, because that's the speed limit right here. I'm going to go right through the town of Essex. And likely sort of head over and try to get up towards Comber and Tilbury. We will see. Wish me luck.
All right, Mark, you're in southwestern Ontario, but what is the likelihood of this traveling even further east towards perhaps the GTA?
Well, I mean, the whole problem with this one is it really is feeding on the energy of the day at this point. So once the sun begins to go down, once we lose that daytime heating, we're going to see a lot of that energy being lost for the storm. So it may not continue to go. Talking with some of the meteorologists, we think it might make it at least to London. Like, that's pretty far. That's a good 2-hour drive from where we are now. Just to give you an idea. So this may continue for quite a while, and it's my task to get us ahead and sort of turn around and see what we can see.
There is a lot of lightning that I'm seeing now,
yeah,
Mark.
Getting worse now. Getting worse. There we go. There we go.
Have you noticed that the lightning is more rapid now than it was perhaps 30 minutes ago?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these storms, as it's beginning to push to the east, it does definitely, it's starting to kick up the lightning a little bit, but it also may be a bit of an illusion because it's getting darker. We're seeing every lightning bolt. The whole sky flashes and you can easily see it. when it's really bright in the day, you can't always see the lightning. So it's a bit tricky to say whether or not we're seeing a big uptick in the lightning. But the fact that the lightning is as often as it is telling me that this storm is maintaining its strength as it continues east. If we do see that, a drop in the amount of lightning, that's an immediate sign to me that this storm is losing its strength, beginning to peter out. That's not happening. This one is continuing to sort of keep itself maintained, if not gathering maybe a little bit of strength here and there.
Mark, what is your thought process for the rest of your evening? Are you going to just try to keep traveling further east towards even the London area if you can? Are you just going to keep following the storm, basically?
Yeah, I'm going to try and follow this storm as far as I can. I want to bring to our audience what this storm is like, and I want to make sure that, if you're sort of watching us on the Weather Network, you can get an idea of what it's like to be inside the storm or what it looks like on the other side of the storm, just as long as I could. This is, I'm headed back towards home anyway, so it all kind of works out.
It certainly does. We are telestrating right now as to where you are and where you are headed. You are in Essex right now, but traveling a little bit further east. The storm was moving a little faster than I think you anticipated it to be moving, though, Mark, right?
Yeah, definitely moving a little bit faster than I was originally anticipating. Unfortunately, I did want to sort of stay ahead of it because it's so dramatic out front. But unfortunately, this one decided, nah, I think I'm going to go faster than you think I'm going to go. So yeah, I'm just coming into Essex right now. You can actually see the lights right here. This is Essex. Welcome to Essex.
Oh, welcome to Essex.
This is why I try to stay out of urban areas, though.
Oh,
because they always get tricky.
Yes, the nature of storm hunting, the nature of forecasting. Our meteorologists have been live tracking throughout the entire day as to where these storms are headed. We are having questions about tomorrow now, though we still do have some non-severe thunderstorm potential for Kingston up towards Ottawa, more severe potential for Montreal, and even further east. That's where we have the more severe likely. Again, localized flooding, strong winds, large hail, and even the possibility for 1 or 2 tornadoes. Melinda and Dylan, you are watching the radar extremely closely there. Can you give people a better understanding of what they can expect tomorrow? I think people are watching Mark out there now and they're thinking, oh my goodness, is this going to happen to me on my Thursday?
Absolutely right, Victoria. We can do that for you now. Areas across the GTA, you'll be seeing this storm just after the midnight hour, between 12 to around 2 a.m. You'll see this line move through, but it's going to become a bit more widespread. So it's losing the daytime heating because it's at midnight or after that. And we're going to be just looking at more so the threat for heavy rain. It's not going to be like the storms we saw earlier. Yes, you might see a little bit of a structure. It's really going to be dark out, so not seeing much. You might just see some low level cloud if you are outside, but when this rainfall does move through, make sure you do head inside because we could be looking at still the potential for some lightning with this as well. And then as we head into the later day on Thursday, around the morning hours, 4, 5, even a little bit later around 8 a.m. That's when we're going to be looking at a lot more heavier rainfall across the Nickel Belt region. It's that same system, but it's more so the heavy rain. So Sudbury, North Bay, you'll be looking at very heavy downpours throughout your day, and a lot of this wrap around here, that'll be making its way in the same region. So we do have rainfall warnings in these regions. Those have been issued by Environment Canada and as well and through parts of Quebec. I'll quickly shift over to the Quebec movie where we can give a bit more of an in-depth analysis, Dylan.
Yeah, you can see first there's the warm front that's working its way through. You see some morning shower activity with that, maybe even a couple rumbles of thunder. But as that warm front lifts northward into the afternoon hours, you see that instability surge in, and then those thunderstorms really get going, especially ahead of that cold front as that cuts into your region, giving those storms an extra kick to get going. And once again, if you're in those eastern townships, watch out. That's where you will see the greatest chance of severe weather occurring because you have the instability and you also have that shear, which is those winds changing in direction and speed as you go higher up in the atmosphere.
We want to highlight parts of northern New Brunswick for you as well. After around the noon hour on Thursday, you could be looking at a little bit of a line potentially moving in as well. Grand Falls, north of Chatham in New Brunswick, some heavy rainfall potential for some lightning and thunder is also a possibility as well. Later into the evening, areas like Fredericton, you could be looking at some light rain or heavier rainfall rather with that system. But overall, that's the threat that we are going to be tracking as we head into Thursday. I quickly just wanted to touch on this another question that we have. Will there be strong wind in southern Ontario on Thursday? Yes, there will be, Dylan. Behind this cold front, that's where we're going to be tracking some gustier winds.
It's a rather almost fall-esque type of system where you have that low pass through southern Ontario, and then in behind, those northwesterly winds kick in quite breezy off the lakes, especially if you're on the escarpment and on the south side of Georgian Bay. We could be gusting in that maybe 60 to 80 kilometer an hour range throughout Thursday. A little bit cooler, but things change a lot as we head into the end of the weekend and the start of the work week, Melinda.
Yeah, if you really enjoy the heat, you're going to be feeling it as we head into the weekend by early work week. Yes, we're going to be feeling Humidex values rather into the low to mid 40s. It's going to feel very tropical, very muggy, sticky too, and it's not going to be some of the best days to do your hair. Am I right, Victoria?
Yeah, certainly not the best hair days, but I love the heat. However, heat, it just helps to fuel any storms. Speaking of storms, as we continue on our Thursday conversation, we're also monitoring the potential risk for thunderstorms across southern Manitoba, also central portions of Saskatchewan, as well as central portions of Alberta. Damaging winds, large hail, and even the possibility of 1 or 2 tornadoes could be experienced. We've already seen storms across Alberta and the Prairie provinces today on your Wednesday, Melinda. This storm threat still lingering, though, on Thursday.
Absolutely right, Victoria. We're going to be looking at the threat for those storms continuing. It's basically along this frontal boundary. This is why we are seeing the storm threat throughout your day, continuing well into Wednesday evening, into the overnight, and of course throughout your day Thursday as well. But the main system we're going to be tracking is along this warm front. Now, warm air likes to rise. That's why we see the instability build in the atmosphere. And like you mentioned in that map earlier, that's where the bullseye is. Severe likely storms, damaging winds, large hail, and 1 or 2 tornadoes are possible across the border of Saskatchewan and Manitoba, including the city of Brandon, as we head into our day Thursday. So that's what we're really going to be focusing on, that region, and of course the eastern townships of Quebec as well for Thursday. Now, Dylan, looking at the radar, we're slowly starting to see the bulk of this system, the squall line, the QLCS, make its way eastward. It's out of Windsor now. We're still looking at some light rain, a bit more heavier rain on the way, but the bulk of it is making its way east.
Yeah, and there's one area I actually want to draw your attention to, just around Leamington. That's where we are seeing potentially some stronger wind gusts. You can see there's a bit of a bend in the line, and just around Leamington, it's almost bowing out. And that's what indicates those strong straight line winds kind of trying to surge out ahead of the line of storms, pushing forward. So it might be a little bit gustier. So far, though, we haven't seen any major wind reports from the storm. Windsor International Airport reported only a 40 kilometer an hour wind gust, which is a little bit weak compared to what many of you might be expecting, but still, nonetheless, the severe thunderstorm warning is in place, and in fact, it's been extended eastward into Chatham.
That is correct. That thunderstorm warning has just been expanded, like Dylan mentioned, eastward towards Chatham, even up towards Wallaceburg. We are still monitoring this very carefully because just within the past half an hour, this has already expanded. We are still in watches for Port Stanley up towards London and Sarnia as well. So if you are in any of these regions in yellow, do be prepared because this could certainly expand into a warning potentially. Now, Mark Robinson, you're still out there. You're driving. It is extremely dark now where you are. I don't know if that's just because you're in a more rural area
Yes.
or if it's just the darkness of the sky now.
All of this combined, actually, it's definitely getting darker. It's what, 8:53. So that means, you know, we are getting closer to sunset. We also have a giant thunderstorm on top of us. Add in the fact that, yes, we are not on the 401. And yeah, you do run into that, can't see a thing. But what we can see is the lightning. So there is a lot of, whoa! That was really close. It was just over here. Yeah, that was an impressive bolt. We can see the lightning. Like, that is the big thing at this point. Rain coming down pretty hard. There's definitely some gusts, but you know, I haven't seen a lot of damaging gusts. Like, I haven't seen any big trees down. I've seen no structural damage at all. I've seen a lot of leaves on the road, and that's pretty normal for even relatively slow wind speeds. And right now you can see fairly far ahead, so that's nice. You know, it's not too bad, not too hard to deal with. But yeah, it's still going to be a big problem if you are trying to drive, you know, they say down the 401, lots of other cars on the road. You're going to have to pay a lot of attention to not only the other cars on the road, but the potential for ponding and pooling on the road. When you hit those big ponds, those pools on the road, you know, it can really sort of feel like your steering wheel is being, you know, pulled out of your hands. So both hands on the wheel, and you'll see, you know, both hands on the wheel right now. At this point, not a lot of ponding and pooling where I am, because it looks like this is a fairly new construction. But the one thing that I am noticing, winds are getting stronger, rain is getting stronger, which means that we're coming up towards the front of the line. Can we get ahead of it? That has been the entire question as I've been, you know, blasting east as fast as I can. Can I get ahead of the line before it gets so dark that we can't see the storms anymore?
Well, it is good news that you haven't seen much damage other than some of the leaves on the roadways, which, like you said, is quite normal for this any sort of wind. But that lightning, it really is lighting up the sky. It's lighting up you, actually. We notice how dark it is around you, and you can really notice when those lightning strikes happen. This lightning is very frequent, right, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's really been quite frequent. The one thing I was going to say, just as you were talking, I was sort of thinking about what I wanted to say. And one of the things I did want to sort of point out was that notice that you're not seeing a lot of cloud to ground strikes. So most of the lightning that we're seeing are flashing above, sort of through the clouds. Now, what is interesting, and we have seen this before, we're passing through a wind turbine. You probably can't see it right now. But one thing we have found, and I've discussed this with our meteorologist, with Dr. David Sills, that we seem to get a lot of lightning in and around the wind turbines. Is that an actual thing? Are we, you know, perhaps just getting it because, you know, we got better observations there? We're really not sure. But it is interesting that we do see the potential for just a bit more lightning around those wind turbine farms. No, it's not a problem at all because, you know, it's not going to really do any damage to the turbines. But it is really cool. If you want to get some lightning, go stand by a wind turbine, and you might get surprised.
Mark, that sounds like a new...
Shockingly so.
It sounds like a new report idea, perhaps, for you, that people can find. I know you do many reports, and so do I. You can find our reports on theweathernetwork.com or on our app or desktop, which is where our live stream is currently streaming, as well as YouTube. Oh, Mark Robinson. He is a professional storm hunter, storm chaser. He has been out in blizzards, tornadoes, hurricanes, all of the above. Do not do what Mark does. If you do happen to have a thunderstorm warning in your region, make sure that you remain indoors. Do not be outside driving like Mark is. He is, of course, staying as safe as he possibly can, but Mark is watching these lines of storms very carefully, as is our meteorologists here, who have been live tracking these ongoing storms. These we can consider, this we can consider a squall line, correct, Melinda? That could bring in quite gusty winds. We saw Mark in the gusty winds earlier, but it seems like they've almost died down since we last saw him.
Absolutely right. We're entering around 9 p.m. now, and that means the sun is basically already set across parts of southwestern Ontario because the storm is approaching. And when we're losing daytime heating, we're losing the instability. And yes, earlier in Michigan and Indiana, we saw this storm. It was very strong, it was very dynamic, but of course it's moving over parts of the Great Lakes as well. So yes, this half of the storm may continue to strengthen, but once it moves over Lake Erie, definitely going to see a little bit of that part of the storm die down because lake waters are still on the colder side. Now we'll jump gears and we'll head over to the Prairies, Dylan, where there is a little bit of a few thunderstorms as well. We can look at this one here just west of Edmonton. So this may potentially move into the city depending on the flow of it. Dylan, if you have the warning up as well.
Yeah, I can pull that warning up. A lot of these storms, though, they're fairly slow moving. They don't have that flow aloft, which is why, in addition to strong winds and maybe some nickel-sized hail, I'll just confirm that right now if it still is indeed warned for that. Yeah, so the warning for the storm just west of Edmonton, watch out for strong winds, up to nickel-sized hail and heavy rain. And the same goes for the storm over in British Columbia, just approaching Prince George, which is moving at 20 kilometers an hour. You could almost chase that thing with a bicycle.
Yeah, it's very slow moving. And now we'll quickly jump over to what we're going to be expecting as we head into Thursday, Dylan, especially for those areas in the red region. So I'll just quickly populate on some more names here so we can just quickly touch base on what's ongoing across this region. So Moosomin, Melita, Brandon, a little bit areas just south of Dauphin rather. So Dylan, I know you've been looking at some of the analysis here when it comes to the storms for Thursday.
Yeah, so what's interesting about this, even though it's a red area, most of you may not see an actual storm. It's going to be very isolated storms because there's what we call a cap that prevents a lot of the clouds from shooting upward into the sky. But those storms that do manage to break the cap, they will pack a punch. The environment supports some very large hail and also damaging winds, and we even have the potential for a tornado or two because we have that shear in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, giving the storms an extra bit of spin.
So these storms are really going to be along that warm front. You can see Thursday afternoon some storms along the parts of Alberta, Saskatchewan, along the cold front, but the warm front here, that's where we could be tracking some of those more potent storms as we head into Thursday across Alberta. And of course, we're still tracking the threat for severe likely storms across the eastern townships of Quebec, including Granby, Sherbrooke, and St. George's. Of course, Montreal, you're in the severe possible, so that means severe storms are possible, but not as severe as they potentially could be in regions of the eastern townships. Ottawa, Petawawa, Kingston, looking at a threat there for the potential for some non-severe storms as well. Quickly touch on the timing before we head back to Victoria. So heading into early Thursday morning, widespread rain along that warm front. We will be looking at the potential for some lightning as well, rumbles of thunder into the late morning hours. And then it becomes a bit more on the scattered side. The more rainfall-like events will be areas across western Quebec and towards the north. So Saguenay, down towards Val-d'Or, Mont-Laurier, you'll be looking at more so the rainfall. Meanwhile, areas along Gatineau into up along the St. Lawrence River, parts of the eastern townships, you can see tiny little cells. And now that is exactly what we're going to be watching, especially as we head into the evening hours, afternoon, evening that is, across these regions. And like I mentioned earlier, and through parts of northern New Brunswick as well, where we could potentially look at a little bit of a line developing as we head later into Thursday. Back to you, Victoria. All right, we have some technical difficulties with Victoria, but we'll continue on the show. Now, Dylan, let's take a look here at some of the criteria when it comes to severe thunderstorms.
Yeah, so for us, the criteria for a severe thunderstorm warning is winds up to 90 kilometers an hour or greater, hail 2.5 centimeters in diameter or larger, or heavy rain. That heavy rainfall criteria does change based on your location. Some areas require more and some a little bit less.
Absolutely right. Now, when it comes to warnings, here's a look at some of the current warnings from Windsor, Leamington, all the way into Sarnia. I well, I'm guessing that in the next couple minutes, maybe in half an hour or so, we'll see the winds or warning drop off as the system continues to move on through. I'll quickly touch on, though, the winds for tomorrow. Now, we're seeing that cold front. Dylan mentioned earlier a bit of a northwesterly flow. So Thursday, even into the morning hours, evening too, we'll be looking at some gustier winds, potentially 60 to 80 kilometers per hour. So if you're heading into work, going to do some errands, make sure you have 2 hands on the wheel, because with these wind gusts, in a quick second, your car could be moving into another lane, especially on the highway, and you don't want that happening. So it's going to be a windy day, so just prepare yourself for some gusty conditions. Overall, the sustained winds will not be as strong, but it's the gusts that we are more so concerned about. All right, Dylan, we'll jump over to the radar. It's 9:03 currently, and this is what we're tracking.
Yeah, we have that line of storms continuing to track eastward. It's crossing Lake St. Clair at the moment. We can see it's roughly from Stony Point down to areas just east of Wheatley. That's where the line is currently, and it's going to be tracking eastward. Tilbury, it's right on your doorstep, so if you are still outside, you may want to run inside before you get caught in those downpours and maybe some gusty winds. And for those of you on the north side of Lake St. Clair, you still have a bit of time. Wallaceburg will be the first area that gets hit with it. And then St. Clair and Petrolia, you probably still have maybe 15 to 30 minutes before the line of storms rolls into your neck of the woods.
Download the Weather Network app to make sure that you are weather aware, especially through the duration of this ongoing storm that we're watching, as these thunderstorm warnings expanded further towards Sarnia, Wallaceburg, Chatham, Leamington, Windsor. You are all in a thunderstorm warning. Earlier today, we saw a funnel cloud spotted. This is in central Illinois. This system that is currently in southern Ontario is kind of what was originally in the U.S. and then moved its way towards us. Now, we haven't seen funnel clouds in southern Ontario on these systems, but they did certainly see them stateside, going to show just how dangerous these storms can be. What we did see in our neck of the woods was heavy rainfall. This was in Windsor. Certainly localized flooding is a concern with the heavy downpours that we have been experiencing. This was the scene in Milton, and you can see the wind shift there as the rain is moving with the wind. Strong winds, those were another factor associated with these storms. And I mentioned the flooding. Check out Ancaster. This person at least walking through ankle height in water. And this was Mark Robinson, our storm hunter near just in southwestern Ontario. He was driving through the thick of it. He currently is still driving in these storms. However, this is very bright behind you. It looks like such a bright night sky. I don't know if that's just because of the lights or what that is. This is live shot of Mark driving. Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're probably seeing a reflection. We turned on one of the lights in the car so you could actually see me.
Oh, okay.
Watch what happens when I turn the light off. There you go. Yeah, can't see me at all. So we flipped on the light here. Whoa! Just so you can see me. So like I'll roll down the window and you get an idea of what you sort of see out there. A little less reflection. Lots of rain out there. Okay, lots of rain. What I have been watching though is for the lightning. And I was chatting with Kyle and sort of saying, oh, we've lost a lot of the lightning seems to have died down a bit. And then of course, Mother Nature likes to make me a liar, so the lightning immediately picked up again. So it kind of depends along this line, you know, where things are, where the strongest parts of the line is, and where that lightning is going to be strongest. And that's usually a pretty good indicator of where the storm itself is strong. Okay, I'm getting soaked here.
Mark, last time we saw you were
storm, though, the line itself. Oh, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to confirm, last time we saw you, you were in Essex. Where are you right now?
Yes, and we're getting a little bit of a delay on it, so you know, I apologize for continually talking over. It gets a little tricky. We are coming into, I believe this is Comber, aiming for the 401. Yeah, it's Comber, which is just near the town of Chatham, if you sort of know where that is. And then the idea is get on the 401, head towards London. It may be fast enough. Whoa! That was a good one. I get very excited by lightning. That may get us fast enough towards the east to get ahead of the storm. Maybe. We will see. I anticipate that I'm going to be driving in rain all the way back home.
Yeah, Mark, you are still in the thunderstorm warning as you are in Chatham. The thunderstorm warning did expand further north, though, towards Wallaceburg and Sarnia. If you're headed towards London and the Port Stanley area, they are currently in a watch. So you certainly know better than I do as the meteorologist there, but I think you're headed in the right direction. It still is raining, though. Localized flooding, that has been one of the topics of conversation with these storms, Mark. Mark, have you seen any localized flooding in as you've been out today? Because that's been one of the main. Mark's getting really distracted with the lightning.
There's so
he
many
loves
things
storms.
going on all at once, and there's all kinds of there's all kinds of delays and crazy technical issues and all kinds of stuff. Flooding, yes, definitely seen flooding even on the roads that we've been going down. There's been some ponding and pooling on it. Definitely a lot. Actually, speaking of that, watch this. There's a ponding right there. Now, it wasn't too deep, but definitely going to be a problem with this continuing rain, especially in urban areas. You haven't got a lot of places the rain can go, so you get the ponding close to the curbs. You get the ponding anywhere the road dips down. But when you're talking about rural areas, farmers' fields, I've seen a lot of flooding on those fields, and that could be a problem for a lot of farmers. So we can just kind of hope and got our fingers crossed that those fields can dry out a little bit, because we don't want to drown all the crops. I enjoy eating and not paying $45 for a loaf of bread. So I'll send it back into you while I try and get through this town and get to the 401.
All right, get there safe. We will keep checking in with you. Now, tomorrow, we still do have some thunderstorm potential lingering with localized flooding, strong winds, large hail, and even the potential for tornadoes. This time, though, further east than what we were watching for today. Non-severe potential anywhere through Kingston, Ottawa, further north as well. Now, Montreal is more in a severe possible, while eastern townships, you could also be in a severe potential for any of these risks. So if you've been watching our live stream today and you're in Ottawa, you can certainly be well aware of what potentially you could expect tomorrow. Now, here to track more of the storms again is our meteorologists Melinda Singh and Dylan Kakuda. Thank you again for joining us. Now, where is this system right now? I feel like Mark is still in line with the storm. He's almost been following it perfectly as the watches and warnings progress. So is Mark progressing with his journey.
Yeah, as that bulk of the storm pushes eastward, Mark is basically driving alongside of it. I don't think he'll be able to run it out. It's just moving more faster than he can drive, of course, in the local speed limits. Now, Dylan, here's a look at the radar. We've been tracking the storm. The heavy rain is now over Tilbury. It's going to continue to track in a bit of a eastern direction as well, a bit more towards the north. And it looks like a little bit of those warnings have extended into areas like Petrolia and down towards Thamesville, Ridgetown as well. So the storm is on the way to you. So heed the warning, head indoors, because we're seeing heavy rainfall and the potential is still there for lightning, and we're still not ruling out that we could be looking at 1 or 2 tornadoes tonight.
Yeah, you can see there are a few bends in the storm as it's crossing over those eastern sections of Lake St. Clair. Those are always what we have a close eye on if any of those can develop stronger rotation. As of right now, there isn't anything too concerning. It's just that heavy rain, gusty wind. So heads up for those eastern shores of Lake St. Clair. You're going to see that storm rolling in maybe within the next 5 to 10 minutes. And then pretty soon after that, Wallaceburg, you're going to get your share of the action with that storm. And here's a look at the current warnings and watches in place. Those red boxes, that's where those severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect. And those yellow boxes for London, that's where a severe thunderstorm watch is still in play.
All right, Dylan, we may be seeing some of those expand as that storm continues to track eastward into parts of the GTA, but like we've been talking through the majority of the day, as this continues to make its way eastward, we get closer to midnight, it's losing the instability it needs to sustain itself. It's also, you can see by moving throughout this model here, it's becoming more widespread. When it becomes more widespread, that's when we see it's losing its instability, it's losing its power. So it's going to become a bit more on the weaker side. So we're still going to be looking at pockets of heavier rainfall, especially in the darker colors, or the lighter colors rather, like the yellows, the oranges, the reds, even the purples. The purples are indicating a little bit of some hail mixed in as well. But of course, we'll continue to track this into the overnight hours. Around midnight, we'll see the thick of it over London, Goderich to Nanticoke as well, and then across the west end of the GTA, slowly progressing just after the midnight hour, 1 a.m. into 2 rumbles of thunder, and some lightning streaks are also going to be a main factor as well. Quickly make its way out around 3, 4 a.m. across the GTA, a little bit of some wraparound behind it too. But as we head into eastern parts of Ontario, a little bit of some light rain. The bulk of it is really going to be tracking in the cross regions of the Nickel Belt. Over Cottage Country, over Georgian Bay, we're seeing heavier rainfall. And then, Dylan, as we head into Thursday, that's really where we're going to be tracking the potential here for more of those severe storms across Quebec.
Yeah, that's when we have to deploy that red contour again for severe storms likely across the eastern townships. We see that warm front lifting across the region first, bringing that instability. Storms pop up around lunch hour and continue into the evening hours. The big question will be whether we see scattered kind of clusters of storms, or do we see a more linear event such as what we're seeing currently in southwestern Ontario. If we see more linear storms, you can expect more of a wind threat. But if we see more clustered storms, they might be able to take more advantage of that shear in the atmosphere, and you might see more of a tornado threat.
Now, winds are going to be gusty behind that frontal system, first southern Ontario as we head into Thursday. By Thursday overnight into Friday morning, looking at some of those winds translating into parts of southern Quebec as well. But overall, though, it's going to be a two-hand on the steering wheel kind of day. All right, Victoria, back to you.
Thank you so much. Yes, we are still monitoring these thunderstorm warnings that are ongoing. If you are in a watch, do be aware that that could slowly be upgraded to a warning at any given time. We've been watching this all day long, and we've also been seeing Mark Robinson, our storm hunter, out in southwestern Ontario. He's been seeing so much lightning. Now, I think now many people, because the sun has gone down, many people should be at home, bunkered down. Hopefully you're not out on the roadways. If you are, drive with caution. But did you know that there's some lightning safety tips if you are indoors? Of course, when we think about lightning, we think about getting struck outside, but there are some hazards you need to be aware of. When thunder roars, head indoors, and if you are indoors, avoid electrical equipment and water. Also avoid your windows, doors, and porches, and be sure to protect your pets. Do not leave your dog or any sort of pet outside in a dog house, for example, because they can only there could be a risk associated with that, of course, with lightning. Speaking of lightning, Mark Robinson has been in the thick of these storms. Look at all of those flashes of light, Mark. It's absolutely lighting up the sky. What is it like there now as you continue further east? I think you're still in Chatham, right?
Yeah, we're just passing Chatham now. We're sort of, getting into the line. But yeah, the lightning, that was impressive. That was, I think, the first bolt we've actually seen out front of the car. That was impressive. Yeah, but definitely pulling into the back of the line, which means that, it's gone from just sort of misty rain to much heavier rain. We may be able to get ahead of this. Probably going to get ahead of this just as it's too dark to see the storm itself. But that lightning, always illuminating stuff. Whoa. Okay, speaking of like ponding on the road, yeah, I actually, it slid a little bit on me there. So I'm just being to drop the speed down just a little bit right now to ensure, safety in the car. Because that's sort of number one thing. Both hands on the wheel. You'll notice, even if Kyle sort of points the camera at me, I'm not going to look at the camera. It's all looking forward as we sort of go through the worst part of this. So, yeah, definitely getting tricky on the driving now. So it's just a matter of, got to make sure we get through this. If we can get through this as well, It's also much safer on the other side of the storm. Before the rain hits, I'm on dry pavement, be fine. Right now, ponding, pooling, and 18-wheelers, not the place you want to be.
Certainly, hydroplaning has been something that we've been talking about as one of the risks with driving in such treacherous conditions. Mark, what road are you on right now? You're not on the 401 just yet. Are you?
Yes, I am.
You are?
I'm on the 401. You can actually, yes, you can actually sort of see. I'm coming past that little arrow right there. You can give it an idea. There I am, right on the 401, just passing towards Tilbury and Chatham, and we're going to try and make our way as fast as we can towards the east. I mean, we're going home anyway, so we're just going to follow this storm all the way home and maybe get ahead of it, but I doubt it. I think this is going to be my night of driving. Is what you see is what you get.
This live stream is turning into bring the viewers to work with Mark Robinson Day almost. Mark, you're doing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, this is. I'm in my office right now, so this is my office right here. Welcome to my office. But yes, you definitely. If you don't have to be out on the 401 right now, I'm going to suggest you don't, because this is also quite exhausting. I mean, to be serious. Driving in these kinds of conditions, it's not only tough, and again, both hands on the wheel. It's exhausting. So if you do this for hours, trying to get through these storms, trying to get through this rain, you can start to make mistakes simply because you're exhausted. So I know when I've had enough and I need to stop. For now, it's okay. I'm going to try and get ahead. But if you get even a little bit tired, find the next exit. Let this go by. And make it home. I'd rather see you get home late than not get home at all.
You are correct. Safety is, of course, a priority, and it is a priority for you as well, Mark. So stay safe while you are out driving there on the 401. I'm glad that you have made it to the 401 now. We still do have watches and warnings in place across southwestern Ontario. Those watches, nothing has changed in the past maybe 20 minutes. We still have the warnings through Sarnia, Wallaceburg, Chatham, Leamington, and Windsor, and then the watch is still in place for Port Stanley and London. Our meteorologists have been ongoingly tracking these storms throughout these live streams today on the Weather Network app, our desktop, and YouTube. Melinda and Dylan, is there any progression with these? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel, I should say? When are these going to start to simmer down?
Well, it's really until it heads into parts of the GTA and parts of southern Ontario as well. Areas across the south, you're still looking at the little bit of energy the storm has left, and then as it makes its way over to the GTA, we'll slowly see it become a bit more widespread, losing its steam, becoming a bit more weaker, and it's just going to be a bit more heavier rainfall and the threat there for some lightning as well. Now, while we were off camera, Dylan and I were looking at some of the storms across the prairies. This one kind of stood out as well. It's a little bit just west of Edmonton, Dylan.
Yeah, there's a severe thunderstorm warning, and it's been now upgraded to include Toonie-sized hail. So this storm is just north of that Trans-Canada Highway on top of Isle Lake, and it's tracking a little bit northeast. So if you're on Lac St. Anne, near West Cove, Darwell, and Alberta Beach, heads up, there is up to Toonie-sized hail with this storm as it tracks northeast toward your way.
And you can also see a few more storms in the Grand Prairie region, Hinton, moving a little bit in the northeast direction as well, down towards the west here, the east rather. These storms are not severe because they're not meeting the criteria. So yes, it's going to be heavy rainfall, but maybe we're not seeing the hail size we need for it to be severe thunderstorm warned. But overall, these are storms, and they're going to continue in the next couple of hours as it's still around 7:30 Alberta time in that region. Now, a few more across parts of Prince George, rather. Looks like that system has finally made it over top of the town, and it's going to continue to move into Chief Lake as well into the next maybe 10 to 20 minutes too. Dawson Creek, Fort St. John, some warnings in place for you also into the next coming hour, a couple of minutes rather. And in through areas of Saskatchewan, Manitoba, we're now seeing a few of these warnings drop off. So it looks like the more severe threat is down across regions of Estevan, Moosomin, Brandon, down towards Winkler, Yorkton. You're now out of the severe thunderstorm watch, but gearing up for a bit of an active day once again, and this time really centered across Saskatchewan and Manitoba too.
Yeah, and it's going to be a rather isolated threat for storms, so a lot of you might not see even a drop of rain, but those of you who do get hit with a storm, it's going to pack quite a punch. Lots of energy in the atmosphere and also a lot of shear. See those storms pushing through the evening hours just around the Saskatchewan-Manitoba border, tracking eastward at quite a clip. Watch out for some strong winds with these large hail and maybe even a tornado or two, just because we have so much low-level shear, those winds changing direction and with speed and with height. Here's one of the other model solutions, maybe a bit more scattered with this one, but the overall picture is that most of you will see dry skies and only a few of you will see some potentially quite strong storms working their way through the afternoon and into the evening hours.
And they could also be a bit more on the photogenic side as well. I know we've been seeing a lot of these photogenic storms across parts of Alberta, not too much across Saskatchewan, unless it was last weekend where we did see a few EF0s confirmed across the province of Saskatchewan. But overall though, winds have not been too much of a concern. Once we start to see this frontal system move on through, then we'll see some of those winds picking up, but it's mainly going to be as we head into the your day, Thursday rather. So as that cold front pushes on by, gusts 60 to 80 kilometers per hour, and of course southern Quebec too, you'll see those late Thursday evening into the overnight hours. So we'll quickly touch on what we'll be seeing throughout the overnight hours and across the GTA. So here's a look: London, Sarnia, Goderich, 10-11 p.m. seeing more widespread rain, heavy downpours as well. A bit of this model is projecting a little bit more heavier rainfall on the back end of that line as well. And then as we head into the GTA around that 1 to 2, 3 a.m. Timestamp region. But yes, more so that heavier rainfall will be infiltrating cottage country, parts of the Algonquin region, the Nickel Belt, and that will be pretty much sustaining itself as we head into Thursday morning. Prairie Sound into some heavy rain, including the region of North Bay. So looks like it's going to be a bit more of a rainy day as we head into Thursday across that region. And then also tracking some of those stronger storms, of course, in through parts of Quebec and the eastern townships. And Ottawa, you're on the non-severe storm side, but of course, if you do have a watcher warning on your phone, your TV, make sure to heed the warning. All right, Vic, back to you.
Thank you guys so much. I actually have more questions for you regarding the next couple of days. In southern Ontario, we are going to get hot and humid. We're getting tropical. It's almost the temperature where you want to drink a pina colada out of a pineapple or something. We're almost getting to the 40-degree humidex values this weekend. And heat, it only just helps to fuel storms. Could we potentially see more storms in the long range because of all of this humidity that's on its way?
Well, I'm going to be off, so I'll be drinking some pina coladas in this heat. But yeah, we definitely could be seeing some more storms. Definitely storms don't necessarily need a frontal system like the one we're seeing now. But Dylan, you can speak a little bit more on this as well. We just need daytime heating, and we can see some pop-up storms in across the region.
Yeah, and the good thing about southern Ontario is we have those Great Lakes, which are still on the cooler side, so they can actually help provide us a trigger for those storms even in the absence of a warm or cold front. Here's a look at the next 7 days. You can see that humidity really spiking as we head into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, feeling into the 40s with temperatures in the 30s.
Yeah, make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids on these days because dehydration is going to be a big concern as well. So lots of fluids, stay hydrated, have fans, your AC is working as well. Just check that in the coming days to make sure it's working. If you don't have that, have a backup plan so you can go to a cooling center or something around your region.
Those are great tips, Melinda, for sure, especially with heat like that. Certainly people who are more prone to heat-related illness, children, pregnant ladies, and even the elderly as well. So certainly stay in an air conditioning spot if you can. We have seen some watches or warnings. Look, we already just saw that move and shift over here. So now Windsor and Leamington are currently in a watch, so your warning has since lifted. We still are in thunderstorm warnings for Chatham up towards Sarnia, while Port Stanley and London remain in that watch. Just because you're in a watch doesn't mean you're out of the woods yet. You could certainly still experience some more rain, the localized flooding, those strong wind gusts with those straight line winds associated with some of these this system that we've been watching. Is it a squall line? Sorry, Melinda.
Yes, it is.
It's been a long day.
Yep, it's a squall line, or a bit more scientific, you can call it a QLCS.
There we go, the QLCS. Even I'm learning something new today. I really appreciate your expert analysis here as we continue live streaming on the Weather Network app, our desktop. You can find us on theweathernetwork.com or on our YouTube channel at Weather Network. Feel free to continue asking questions on social media as we continue to watch storms throughout the duration of this evening, but also as we head into tomorrow, because we still are monitoring the risk for potential thunderstorms across southern Ontario, specifically eastern portions of the province, as well as Quebec. Now, Quebec is looking like a more severe potential tomorrow, Melinda. Is tomorrow through that Quebec, the eastern townships, for example, is that going to be similar to what they're experiencing right now through southwestern Ontario?
Yes and no. So we're seeing a bit of it's the same system, but a bit of a different setup. Let's just go here to the model that we have been looking at. Now, Dylan, we've been talking about this all day today. We've been watching it the past couple of days. There's that warm front moving through, but we're not seeing a squall line this time around. It's going to be more so scattered storms, and there's a potential for some supercells to develop as well.
Yeah, and if we see that scattered mode of storms, that's going to allow those storms to take advantage of the shear in the atmosphere, and that could help those storms spin a little bit more, because today we had a line of storms and it's a little bit harder sometimes to get that really organized rotation, and you're just left with those straight line damaging winds. Tomorrow across Quebec, it could be a little bit different. A lot of models do suggest more of a scattered storm mode, which does suggest that maybe a tornado threat is more favored. But regardless, I think that damaging wind, heavy rain, and potentially some hail will be the primary concerns as those storms track through the eastern townships.
And it looks like a cluster too could form and impact the northern and central parts of New Brunswick as well late Thursday evening into the overnight. So just keeping an eye, if you are in that region, on your phone and your app.
Thank you so much for that. Again, here's the places we're watching tomorrow for the risk for non-severe thunderstorms. Anywhere in this mustard yellow here, Kingston up towards Ottawa, even further north. Anywhere in this orange, you're in a more severe possible likelihood to see these strong winds, large hail, and localized flooding. And this red area here, that's when we're in the more severe likely potential. So that means you should certainly download the Weather Network app so that you can remain weather aware through the duration of this event. Now let's head back to our storm chaser, Mark Robinson, who is still out in southwestern Ontario. The lightning, that has not stopped. Mark, you are on the 401 currently. What city are you in right now?
We are coming close to Chatham, just south of Chatham right now, and we'll start that sort of that turn towards the northeast, literally as we're speaking, so that the 401 sort of turns up towards towards London. Yeah, and just before we got on, big lightning bolt, like enough that I had to blink a couple of times so that I could see. So that lightning is definitely very intense still, but the big difference between what we saw earlier and now is the frequency of it. We've really seen a drop in the frequency of the lightning. We're not seeing it as much, which is pretty much bang on what we expected. Once we lost that daytime heating, we were going to lose the intensity of the storms. I was wondering, there was some models of last couple of days that were suggesting that there was going to be enough sort of latent energy in the atmosphere after dark to continue this line of storms quite strong all the way up to London. It looks like we're sort of splitting the difference, because I can tell you, driving in this, not fun. But yeah, and we're seeing a little bit of lightning, but definitely having to be very, very careful as we're driving, because yeah, even if there's not a lot of lightning, there's a lot of rain, and a lot, we're starting to see some ponding and pooling on the road, and of course, got a bunch of other cars. You have to be very, very careful. A lot of 18-wheelers here, they can handle that water a bit better. They're a lot heavier than a car, but they're even taking it easy. So it's good to see that everyone's taking it seriously. No one's doing 140 down the highway, which is good. And I'm actually going to move into the right-hand lane because we are getting a little bit of ponding there, and I can feel the car slipping just a touch, especially since we're getting strong winds from the south. So it's sort of hitting me on the right side of the car and sort of trying to push me over a little bit. So just gonna slow it down a little bit and take it easy, and get home later tonight and get ready for the air mass thunderstorms as the temperatures hit 40+ degrees with humidity. And this makes me excited, but probably everyone else will be mad at me for bringing that. That's what all my neighbors say. All my neighbors, they're like, what did you do this time? Why did you give us this kind of weather? So it happens.
Well, Mark, when I see you out in those storms, sometimes I can say I'm certainly not jealous of you being out there. Sometimes I can be a little jelly of you doing fun activities, but in this situation, I'm certainly not jealous of you. I am warm and dry in the studio. Well, you were outside earlier before. You were in those strong winds. You described them as hurricane-like winds. Luckily now you're dry in your car, but driving, that's dangerous still, and it's a very dangerous job that you have, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it can be. I mean, I try to, mitigate the risk as much as possible. And yeah, those, when I was talking about the hurricane, when it felt like a hurricane, was because there was so much rain coming down at the same time that it had that feeling of a hurricane. Not hurricane force winds, but definitely I was getting so soaked, I was thinking to myself, I should have brought my dry suit, and then I could have just stood out there for as long as we wanted, and I would have been much more comfortable. Instead, I had to change. This is a set of clothes that I brought with me just in case I did exactly what I did. Oh my goodness. I just point forward, Kyle. We just came out of the rain. I think we just got ahead of the line literally on our last hit. I think I told you that this was exactly what was going to happen. There we go. Got ahead of the storms. And I'm gonna probably end my part of the stream right now, just as we got ahead of the storms.
This is
well done.
Good job, Mark. This is certainly not your first rodeo. You definitely know what you're doing. And when you're out in the storms, we know that is when the severe weather arises. Whenever you see Mark out here at the Weather Network, that's when you know you should be tuning in and be very cautious of the weather. This has been the duration of our live stream, and we really appreciate you tuning in today throughout the duration of this. Stay with us here at the Weather Network on our television channel, as well as download our app. That way you can stay weather aware as we still monitor some storms tomorrow, as our meteorologists have been live tracking throughout the duration of the day. They are still going to be monitoring these storms. Even though the stream is done, that does not mean that our meteorologists here are done their job yet. We still have some more rain left to fall through the overnight hours and some more storm threats lingering for tomorrow, not just for southern Ontario, but also for the Prairies and Alberta as well. So download the Weather Network app. Make sure that you stay weather aware. Thank you so much to our field team, Mark Robinson, out there driving through the thick of it. And thank you to our meteorologists for their in-depth analysis.